part of the problem. So there's an example of the government intervening and causing an unforeseen side effect, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if states have their own militias, their own National Guard, but that National Guard can be federalized and just taken away.
But the question is, can they be federalized? Because in the Constitution it says that they can raise and support armies. They cannot appropriate money for longer than 2 years at a time, which is rather interesting. And I believe in a strong military, so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
To provide and maintain a navy. Why? To protect our borders from the ocean, right? I mean, that's kind of clear. To provide calling forth the militias to execute the laws of the Union is to suppress insurrections and repel invasions. So, yes, they can do that, but I think that it should be a last
resort.
Last resort. I think that the states should. One, if the people are not taxed to the degree that they are, people are going to spend more money. When they spend more money, there's going to be more revenue. When there's more revenue, now the government has more money. So if we started at the city, the government closest to the people are supposed to be the most effective, and built our way out, instead of, we'll take the dams as an example, before the wall breaks. Why, if you don't have to go to the Army Corps of Engineers to get permission to fix the crack in the dike,
Yeah.
we've got engineers. We've got private contractors, private engineers, and they go, this is what needs to be done. You need to drop the water level. This has got to get repaired, and this is how you need to repair it. Do it.
So things are a lot more efficient when you don't have to go through all the hoops for the government.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned tax breaks and spending. So, hang on, I gotta catch up on my notes.
Okay, good thing. Are you recording this? You can go back and listen. Okay.
Oh yeah, I have my redundancies are all over. So tax breaks and spending. If people are taxed less, they're going to spend.
Correct.
Henry Ford, when he didn't invent it, but he used it to the best of anybody's ability. The assembly line, when he was cranking out the Model A's and Model T's. He paid his people a lot. People made...
Because they couldn't afford to buy the cars.
Yeah.
That they were building, right?
So,
he's going to, wait a minute, if my own...
Right. So he's creating consumers.
Correct.
Right? But it's also beyond just buying the cars. Like, his theory was like, they're going to be happier, they're going to spend more, they're going to go out to eat more, they're going to buy more lamps, they're going to buy more rugs, they're going to go on trips. And so if people make more, they spend more, and kind of everybody's happy. A rising tide lifts all boats, right?
Correct.
So within that concept, how do you feel about the minimum wage debate that's happening?
I think it's ridiculous. Minimum wage was never meant to be a living wage, ever. You and I both know that. I don't know about you, Neil. My first job was $1.65 an hour, and I worked for a dry cleaning company at the counter for $1.65 an hour. I babysat 5 kids at 50 cents an hour. So when I got my license in 1972, gas was 35 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
Now let's put that into context.
Mm-hmm. So things become more expensive. The cost of living goes up.
It has to, because in order for as a business owner, my husband's a micro business owner. He's a carpet installation contractor. If he wants to pay his employee, which my husband has not raised his prices, and he needs to, but he just hasn't. But for most businesses, they're going to raise their prices. A cup of coffee used to be 50 cents. I went to a restaurant a couple weeks ago. It was $2.05. That was down in Cottage Grove. I cracked up at the 5 cents. And that's interesting. But
yeah,
see,
why throw the nickel on?
Yeah, because that's what it was going. That was for their profit margin.
Well then,
right. So 50-cent cup of coffee is $2.50. I mean, I was expecting her to say $2.50, but
yeah. So things have become more expensive. So the cost of living has gone up.
Has gone up. So you never get ahead.
So should minimum wages reflect that? Should what's considered the minimum reflect what it costs to exist in a society?
No, because in order to pay for that wage, you have to increase the price of your goods that you're producing. to the consumer.
So it only aggravates inflation.
It aggravates inflation, absolutely.
Okay.
It's a hidden tax, if you will. And I don't want to go into even try to explain that because it's almost too convoluted to understand. But somebody's going to pay for it. Well, you and I as the consumer will pay for that wage increase. We have to. Because there's this fallacy that businesses are wealthy and they've got all this money.
Yeah.
And certainly they can absorb that cost. Well, it's not true.
No.
You know, many businesses operate on a very, very thin margin.
Yeah.
And they're going to pass it on. Our state legislature, they're looking at a 250% corporate tax increase this next year. Really?
Yeah.
Well, sock it to the corporations. No, you're socking it to your taxpayers. You're stocking it to your constituents. Who do you think is going to pay for it? The price of goods is going to go up. It has to. So get the minimum wage out of the way. Let people negotiate. Get unions out of the way too. Let people negotiate their wages. Get it back to an open market.
How would they negotiate their wages without any kind of set minimum?
Say, yeah, I'm not going to go to work for you unless you pay me this much because this is what I'm worth. A good business owner will pay the workmen what they're worth. They will say, I want to keep you. You bring skills and I am willing to pay you a price to keep you here because you're valuable to my business, because you've got what it takes.
Rather than I'm required by law to pay you this much.
Right. This is what I want to pay you. In unions, I've worked full-time at OSU. I have opted out. I have fair shared out. The union drives me nuts. I don't even make per hour what I made in 1998.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, give me a break. Well, we can't give you a raise. Yes, you can. I mean, there's a whole other story. But well, this is what happens. If you've been in a union position and you've topped out, your boss cannot give you a raise. They cannot give you a merit increase because you're at the top of the pay scale.
So there's a cap.
You're capped. So, well, and your coworker could be at the same pay scale as you, and they could be the slough off. They do half the work that you do, and you get the same amount of money.
Yeah.
You've got clearly an option to go find another job, as I do, which is what I'm doing. I'm looking for another job, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, definitely. So we've been talking about your positions, which are conservative positions,
yes,
to say the least.
yes.
There's a larger environment out there that's pretty blue, right? And so we have
Theoretically.
we have our incumbent president, who's about to be done.
Yes.
He had his 8 years, and like I like to say that presidents are like the weather in Oregon.
They
right?
change. Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't like it,
hopefully.
it'll change.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully.
And
Hopefully for the better.
So we've got the Republican presidential race happening. And we know what's going on. And then we have, Saturday Night Live just finally got around to making fun of Bernie Sanders with his break up the banks thing.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, they had him, they had Larry David, just doing like the Seinfeld thing.
Okay.
How do you break him up? Well, you sit him down, yada yada yada, break him up. It's like, well, you're not giving any specific. They're finally starting to like call that out as well. So you got Bernie way over here, you got Donald Trump way over there. But how? And I want to talk about Donald Trump.
Okay.
Here, but with your platform and with your fellow conservatives' platform, do you think there's enough of a prevailing attitude in your favor to be able to win not only a presidential but congressional and senatorial elections?
I think there is.
Okay.
And I especially will use the term of the year, the outsider.
Okay.
Okay? The person who's not been entrenched. There's been this mantra for years that you need to work your way up. How dare you start for Congress when you've never served at the state or at the city level? Well,
George Washington had no
yeah,
experience
exactly.
as a president.
Yeah. So where is it written that you need to work your way up? You need to have experience in life, which is why they put an age in there.
Yeah.
So people are looking for, I think the American public is looking for people that are genuine, who Tell it like it is, even when it's unpopular, that don't believe in being politically correct. It doesn't mean you're not diplomatic. And when I ran 2 years ago, I was doing a radio interview, and I said, it's time that we stop being politically correct and start being politically honest.
I saw that on your site as well.
Yeah, and that was my quote. It just came out of my mouth when I was talking on the radio to this guy, and I went, oh my gosh, that's really good. I like that. I think I'll write that one down. But that's the whole thing is we've gotten this political correctness to tell people what they want to hear. Well, let's tell them the truth. Unemployment is not 5.9%. That's a bold-faced lie, and everybody knows it. Why are you telling us this lie? People that are not gaining or getting their unemployment benefits are no longer counted, even if they're unemployed.
Yeah.
Oh, how is that lower the unemployment? Well, they don't count.
People who stop looking and are no longer
They're no longer counting. People that are underemployed, no longer counted as part of the unemployment rate. It's a lie. So let's get, and that's what people want. I think they've hit that point, that wall of going, I just want the truth. I may not like the truth, but I want the truth. Tell me the reality of the way that it is. But we've built this nirvana utopian mindset that everything is hunky-dory when it's not. Oh, ISIS is not a problem. Really? We've got them under control. We do?
Yeah.
That's why they just bombed again? That's interesting. How that happened? Oh, they're the JV league. Well, I don't know. I've seen some pretty darn good JV leagues, and I think that they've. I think you get my point.
Yeah.
So I think people they just want somebody that's going to stick to their guns and be willing to say, I was misinformed. The information I was given to me was incorrect. I misunderstood. Admit your mistakes. There's nothing wrong with saying I'm wrong at all.
Yeah. Who is saying they're wrong in this instance?
Well, I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah.
We could go back to George W. with Iraq, and I'm not talking about the weapons of mass destruction because they actually do exist, and they were buried in the Syrian desert, and that was tracked by our satellites, but that information got buried rather quickly. I have some theories on that, which I won't go into, but some of the information that he was given, the pre-Iraq attack, was not 100% accurate.
Right.
Was it his fault? No. I mean, you rely upon the people that you place in positions of trust and knowledge to give you accurate information, because it can cost somebody their life, and we know that it costs a lot of lives, right?
Yeah.
So we need to not be able to be afraid of the truth anymore. Say it how it is. It doesn't mean you be rude. You be diplomatic. You be gentle, but you got to be able to speak the truth.
Well, okay, that's a perfect segue for the next part. And let me get your quote down here, because it's a good one about not being afraid of the truth. Say it diplomatically, don't be rude. What about Donald Trump? How do you feel about it?
There's things I like about Donald Trump. I like the fact that he's a wrecking ball. I really do. Because he has come right out and said, look, I'm tired of political correctness. It's wrong. It has ruined this country, which I have said multiple times. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to this country. The fact that he says, look, I'm not going to take your money because I'm not going to be beholden to you.
Yeah.
I have tweeted to Donald a couple times going, stop whining.
Yeah.
Stop being rude.
Yeah.
Now, I also understand that his rudeness is part of being a New Yorker. So we have to take a cultural difference into account. And a lot of people don't get that there's regional differences between, let's say, New York and Oregon. There's some huge differences. I talked to people that have come here from the East Coast. In fact, I just talked to a couple that just moved here from New Jersey. They moved to the Southern Oregon coast, and people are so friendly here.
Yeah.
They're so nice. So it's a regional difference.
So
what we see as rude,
but rudeness, like compared to like an Oregon person or a person in Manhattan being rude or brusque, versus kind of some of the stuff he said about women and what he said about banning all Muslims, or saying that we need to build a wall and deport 11 million illegal immigrants.
Okay.
Right.
That's not rude.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it realistic?
Absolutely.
How?
Because when you start, and this, again, it needs to be done at the state level to start with. If you're not here legally, you can't work. And if an employer is going to hire you and you have not proven that you have the right documents, what I do at OSU, part of my job, we hire a lot of students, and we have international students. I have to complete their I-9s, and I am signing an I-9 that I have looked at their documents that says that they can legally work in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Every employer has to sign that I-9 document.
Right.
They are certifying. They're taking an oath, basically, by saying, I certify.
So are some employers perjuring themselves?
Absolutely they are.
Okay.
Absolutely. So they're violating a federal law every time they do that.
No.
Now, do they do an E-Verify? No, they don't. When I worked in financial services, if you came to me and wanted to open up an account, we ran your Social Security number, and if it didn't match you,
Yeah. Right.
I'm back on the phone and saying, Neil, you need to come in because something's not right. We need to get this straightened out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the states should start instituting E-Verify. See, if you don't have a job, you're not going to stick around.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when we had the recession, there was an out-migration of illegals.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they will self-deport. Now, I don't have a problem with somebody coming here legally, but why should you get to move ahead of the line of these people that have been waiting for years to get their immigrant visa? I understand, try to make things better in your homeland instead of coming here. And unfortunately, the way that our president has been is he has decided that that illegal immigrants should be given all these benefits. In fact, it's called DACA, D-A-C-A, and DAPA, D-A-P-A.
Yeah.
It is Deferred Action for Children Act and Deferred Action for Parent. Deferred Actions for Children arrivals and Deferred Action for Parental arrivals.
Mm-hmm.
And they get food stamps, they get health care, they get Section 8 housing.
Mm-hmm.
2 years minimum waiting list right now for a U.S. citizen to get Section 8 housing. 2 years.
Do the immigrants get it immediately?
Instantly.
They get it instantly?
Instantly.
You can verify this?
I can verify that. Isn't that shocking?
I would like to see the verification on that.
I will get it.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad, and that's where a lot of people are going, oh, wait a minute. They're getting all these benefits on the Muslim issue. Donald Trump is not the first, and I don't remember the president that actually also did that and said until...
That was Jimmy Carter during the 1979
Carter? Okay.
Iran situation.
So, yeah.
But that was specifically Iranians.
So we have 6,000 Syrians who just came to Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
They are coming in with tuberculosis.
Mm-hmm.
They are coming in with other diseases that we no longer vaccinate for because they were eradicated.
Yeah.
They are not being properly vetted. There is, to do a Homeland Security check on them, you might as well do it on a Martian.
Yeah.
We don't know who they are. We know that there is a faction, not all Muslims. The problem is we don't know which ones. We know that there's a faction who believe that if you are not a Muslim, that you're an infidel,
Mm-hmm.
and the Quran says, kill them,
Mm-hmm.
because they're against God.
Yeah.
They hold up signs, they chant death to America. They hate this country, they hate what we stand for.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I want to have somebody come to this country that's going to turn around and stab me in the back or blow up my family?
Sure.
Until we get the situation figured out, it doesn't make sense. Again, working at OSU, I can tell you there's a couple of young men that I've talked to, because I'll ask them questions. I just have a conversation with them. But I'll ask them a couple of questions. I can't give you an exact example because it's all during the process of I'm just talking. I'm just having a conversation. But I mentioned Israel. I can remember a conversation with one young man. I mentioned Israel, and oh my gosh, the hate that just rose up in him was amazing to me. I could see it all over his face.
Mm-hmm.
Do I trust him? Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
I do not trust that young man. Now, I haven't seen him since. But see, we already know that they're here, and they come here as students, and they come here underneath different guises. Now, I've talked to Muslims. They're wonderful. So many of them are wonderful. I've talked to one student who came here from a Middle Eastern country. Her government was supposed to be paying her education. She's here with her husband and 2 young children.
Mm-hmm.
They said, oh, there's no money.
Yeah.
And she tells me she hates her country.
Yeah.
She goes, I hate my country for what they've done to me. They've brought me over here. I go, so they've made you a refuge? She goes, yeah, I hate my country. And now they've reduced the pay to my parents who have been helping support us and send us money. If it was not for the good heart of people here in Corvallis, I don't know what we would do.
Yeah.
So see, I see 2 sides of the story. I'm not, so back to Donald. Donald sees 2 sides of the story. He's just saying, look, we need to vet people. We need to know who they are, instead of just opening up our borders and saying, come here. Because the job of the federal government is, number 1, to protect our country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's the job.
Mm-hmm.
So if the President of the United States is going to say, come on in, we don't care who you are, then you are violating your oath of office. If a congressman is saying, come on in, I don't know who you are, yeah, you can come into my house, I don't know who you are, you might rape and pillage my family, but I'm going to let you in, I have no clue who you are. Are you going to do that? No. But you're letting them come into our country.
Yeah.
We have a border for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
We need to protect our border. There's nothing wrong with it. It is not being bigoted. It's not being prejudiced. It's called protecting your family. We want people to come here legally.
I think.
You asked about the wall. The wall should be built, absolutely. We are the only country that does not have a secure border like that. I'm going to exclude the EU because the EU has become one country in essence. But, if I decide to go to Mexico illegally, I end up in jail. They come here, they're given a house and food and medical care. So, and I'm not picking out Mexicans, I'm just saying that's just the facts.
Of course, they end up in jail and get deported. The Border
Not
Patrol.
always.
Well, the Border Patrol deports about 2,000 people a day on the Arizona border, and then they come back.
Then they come right back
It's
because
just
we
like-
don't. Yeah, I mean, well, you're from Southern California. You know that sign just north of San Onofre, right? What's that sign got a picture of?
It's got the people running across
The freeway because they came up the coast, past the checkpoint.
Yeah, those are all up and down the highway.
Yep.
Yeah, watch out, beat. It's like,
Yeah. We know. You and I know what that is. Having grown up down there, and when people go down, what was that sign about? And that was for the people who were coming here, not legally, and they're running across the freeway.
Yeah.
Look out for them.
Be careful of people running across the freeway with their families. Yeah.
So it's insanity. And look how far north the San Onofre checkpoint is. It's not at San Ysidro. Is that right? Is it San Ysidro right there on the coast?
I'm not sure.
I mean at the border of Tijuana, just north of Tijuana.
Oh yeah, like that's Chula Vista San Isidro. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
the border. Yeah.
Yeah, right there. That's that. Yeah. There's the border check, but then you have of course you do have the next border check at San Onofre. But
Yeah.
in my mind, it would be a little bit closer. Not such a
Right.
long gap because that's several miles. But
Well, I think this has been ideal, and I'm glad we're finally